Hello there and welcome here, Dani Nedelko, and thank you so much for being here for another health and beauty talk. And today I have this topic, which you can see in the screen, and it is something interesting. And maybe you don't know, but it's probably something that might be affecting you, and that's the silent fire that is destroying our bodies. And maybe you don't know that you might have this insight and you might be wondering what it is. Well, stay with me for the next few minutes so you can find out more about this silent fire. And there's nothing wrong with our body to go through some seasons and during our life, but we do need to know that there are things inside of us that if we don't take care of them, things can get really ugly. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at somebody or met somebody that's only 45 years old, or who's on their 40s, but they look like they're in their 60s? Or have you ever met somebody that is 70, 80 years old and they look like they're 65? Or you've met somebody that looks very, very healthy and you probably think that they're very young, but it's not that they're lucky, but it is because there's one thing that some people are conscious, and those are health tips, or taking care of their body and things. It's not just luck, it's also not genetics alone, but scientists have proven that there's something that's living within our body that is called chronic inflammation. That is the secret fire that maybe you and I need to really be aware of. Now, unlike, just whenever we cut our finger or when we get a bruise because we're running late somewhere and then, we just hit the corner of a furniture, that's inflammation, yes. But chronic inflammation is something that is quietly damaging our body every single day. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be something you feel, but it's year after year after year there are people who are not conscious about things like cholesterol, like the glucose in your blood, the you not sleeping well every single day, not exercising, not having good heart health, and so on and so forth. So there are many things that are affected by chronic inflammation, and one of them is our joints, our brain, our metabolism, our skin, our immune system. So you might be thinking, Danny, well, that's our entire body. Well, guess what? Yes, even our energy. So now some people have been wondering, what can we do about this? And maybe that's why you're here. You love to take care of yourself, and that's really good. Now, what if I told you that many today's biggest health concerns share just one thing in common? Heart disease, diabetes type 2, memory decline, joint premature aging, poor circulation, and all those things. Well, all those things have one thing in common, and that is, this thing that is called, stress. Now, uh, today I'm very, very happy to be here in beautiful New York. I know that it is a beautiful weather in so many places. Thank you so much for being here. But just drop here in the comments, number one, if you're watching live, drop number two if you're watching on a replay. But you know what? Chronic inflammation is something that is very real. Now, the good news is that we can actually address those things in a different way. Now, let me ask you one thing. Every day, our body is attacked by stress. And just raise your hand or just type number three, I'm sorry, in the chat if you've ever felt stress. I have. We don't sleep well. We have sugar spikes. Sometimes you're not even conscious of those things. We have, sometimes we eat, junk food and so on and so forth. There is people who are bombarded by different things. Maybe you are working in an environment where there's a lot of smoking, or you just have alcohol in your life, which is not a very good thing to have in your life. There's always moderation, but to be real, alcohol also affects your body. It can actually damage your brain, can damage so many things. So it is the junk food and all those things. Now, and not only that, we are just getting sometimes older, and we can't just stop the clock. I mean, that's what it is. But these things increase something called oxidative stress. Now, if you're watching this video live or on a replay, I am not a doctor. I'm not here to give you medical advice. I love health and wellness. I help design some of the products with NH Global. Actually, me and my husband are very blessed to provide so many beautiful things to this community in NH Global. But not only that, we're passionate about health and wellness. But do not take my advice as if this is coming from a doctor. We're not here to diagnose, treat, or cure anybody. That's not the point. But we know there are benefits, whenever we talk about ingredients of different supplements. Now, when you think about oxidative stress, it's like rust. Imagine just a car that just doesn't just suddenly rust overnight. There has to be a process, right? You get to have little by little these things, these drops of water and things like that, and then what? You have rust in a car. It's the same thing with our body as humans. It happens little by little, but we can actually slow down those things in our body. We can actually do things to prevent even some diseases in our bodies if we are careful on what we eat, what we do, and our habits. Not only food supplements, not only a medication, because you and I can take a medication or a food supplement and can have a very different result from another person. Now, a healthy tissue in our body, or a healthy body, just doesn't happen overnight. You're right there with me, right? Yes, thank you so much. So leave here in the chat, number one, if you're watching live, number two, if you're watching on a replay. So have you ever noticed the following? Hey, man, I'm tired all the time. I've been there. My joints hurt, or my cholesterol just going up. When you go to your annual, or when you go to the doctor and they check on your cholesterol, it's a little bit high or on the border. Well, I've been there too. And maybe when you're working out, your recovery is not as it used to be. It's not, of course, if you're on your 30s, it's not going to be like you when you're 40s, right? On your 20s, I'm sorry. So recovery is lower when your immune system is not at its best. So all of those things are a sign of chronic inflammation. Now, what is the solution? I'm going to tell you the solution. The solution is for you and I to slowly, because it's not like a magic pill, it's not like a magic thing. We need to take care of our body so we can actually have it in a better place, not inflamed, not with stress, not with a lack of sleep, or with long nights at work, or studying for a test and just feeling like if there's like you're going to actually pass out the next hours. There are things that we can do. We can start by supplementing our bodies. Yes, drinking lots of water, getting great sleep. That's like something that is a must, or should be a must within those who are trying to actually have better health. And not only those things, get lots of sun. That's important. And oxygen. Now, when it comes down to chronic inflammation, there is one thing that I love, that is called black cumin seed oil. And this active compound is inside of the black cumin seed oil is called thymoquinone. Now, there's evidence that shows, and again, this is not something for you to take it out of context. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to solve all of your diseases, not at all. But there is evidence within PubMed.org, which is the publication for medical research of the United States, and those medical studies suggest that thymoquinone helps with regulating our inflammation in our body. Now, there are human studies that also have shown that when you take, thymoquinone, which is, black human seed oil, you can have a better cholesterol management. Your blood sugar could be, regulated better, especially for those of us who are, we're very sensitive to sugar spikes. Now, blood pressure, that's another thing. Immune function, liver health, and so on and so forth. So you can go and find out online what this is all about this oil. Is really great. This is not just about covering up a symptom or just putting a band-aid on. Just you take a supplement and that's it, or you take a medication and you forget about it. No, I'm talking about really improving your health a day at a time, but for good, not just to mask the symptoms. Now, there's another thing, called resveratrol. I love it. Resveratrol is famous for something that scientists have found very interesting, and that is really high in saturated fat. Now, yet, is really good for your body. It's not one of those fats that is bad, but it's great to support your heart health, circulation. It's also amazing to improve and protect ourselves. And overall, one of my favorites, healthy aging. Now, there are studies that have, helped many scientists see that resveratrol, which, is found in many, many different things like grapes and other fruits and vegetables, help, our mitochondria. If you don't know what that is the energy in our cells. So if your mitochondria is not okay because of stress, because of chronic inflammation, that's why we don't have good energy. Now, there's another thing that is called grapeseed oil, great also for chronic inflammation. It also helps with brain function. And not only that, it helps you with the oxidative damage of, different factors like, junk food, the things that we have in the environment, whatever you drink or put on your body, like from shampoos to perfumes, which are not the best. And again, we can't control what we are surrounded by, but this can help your body and my body actually process those things, take them out of our bodies, and actually have better health. Now, avocado oil, which is great for your health. If you're cooking with avocado oil, good for you, because this is going to help you with your hormone regulation, especially for women, heart health, helps with cholesterol and with many other things, especially with, chronic inflammation. Now, vitamin D, which is not just for our bones, which is really great also for this, what I was telling you, chronic inflammation. Vitamin D acts like a hormone and it can help our body to really do better. So, and then the last one, vitamin K2. And I'm going to talk about a branded vitamin K2, which is called K2 Vital. You can go and Google it. But this type of vitamin K is amazing because it not only helps your vitamin D absorb the calcium in your body, but it also helps you with, your arteries, with your bones and your brain health as well. Now, all of these things are great, but if you don't put anything into practice, it's not meaningful. You need to go into action. So you want to look better when you're on your 40s? Well, guess what? You can start right now. You want to live longer and you want to actually have a great memory and have mobility when you're in your 80s? Well, you need to start today. Now, I'm going to close with this. Disease doesn't just appear overnight, neither does health. You just can't say one day, well, I just woke up and I'm super chunky. No, it happens gradually. Also for chronic inflammation, you need to start a day at a time and you need to start today. So I'm going to invite you to try, our amazing Enhance. As you can see, is on our website, at shop.newhopeglobal.com. That's a great combination. But more than anything, I'm going to invite you to start a day at a time to really work in your body and in your health, sleeping better, drinking more water, having better meals, and not rely on outside sources like, a pill, or, if you have to, you have to, but you need to start like treating your body as the best of the best. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you very soon. Bye bye.